Tyson, man, I almost don't even know what to say. Actually, you know what? Real quick before we dive in, whether the Jets won or lost yesterday, this is something that I wanted to start with. A quick thank you to everybody that watches and supports like the podcast. I know it's longer form content. I know it's not for everybody, but me and Tyson both really, really appreciate it. The comments are always so awesome to dive in and check everything out. Again, whether the Jets are winning or they're losing. The majority of the season they've been losing, which sucks and it pisses me off. And I'm sure we're going to get into, how disappointing yesterday was. But that's what I wanted to start with, right? A little bit of positivity to kind of start this thing out.
No, 100%, man. The feedback's been overwhelming. And we're not, it kind of caught everybody by surprise. We kind of threw this together hey, let's do a podcast and see what happens. And we don't script anything. We don't have a plan. We just kind of put on the microphone and let's talk about things. And I genuinely appreciate it, dude. I love talking to you, man. I have a blast doing this, but the feedback, the support it's really cool. I'm definitely appreciated.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And of course, it's we got Christmas right around the corner. I think this might be the last podcast before Christmas. So for everybody watching, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great holiday. But dude, Tyson, with that said, man, we freaking lose 30-0 to a team that we've already been blown out by this season. One of, if not the worst loss of Robert Saleh's career. I am completely fed up. It's inept. Such a lack of accountability, such a lack of leadership. I really appreciate Aaron Rodgers, trying to fight his way back, make the record, come back from the Achilles. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous that if he's not on the sidelines, if he's not in the building, all hell is breaking loose. It's complete pandemonium. Nobody can take charge. Nobody's a leader. It's like it's all up to Aaron. And we keep talking about him potentially coming back this season, next season. He's not going to – it's not a one-man fix. There's so many problems with this football team. We're going to dive into it. But, dude, what a freaking disgrace.
No, it's a bona fide mess from top to bottom. Literally a mess. And I'm like, I wasn't going to get mad. I'm actually furious, to be honest with you, because I'm fed up too, bro. I'm literally you lost 30-0. You had 4 yards at halftime. You could literally fall 5 times and get more than 4 yards. They had 4 yards at halftime. And you're sitting here and you're like, this is gross incompetence. And there's more to it. Think about the setup. You're coming off a Texans win. Where you're like, all right, the Jets played all right. That's a positive. You go into the injury report, no Tyreek Hill, Xavier Howard's out, Holland's out, the Dolphins offensive line's banged up. You're like, you know what? The Jets may not win this game. This should be a close game, though. Everybody's got injuries, but you know what? They should make a good road in this. It's maybe 2017, 20, whatever. Dude, the game starts. The minute Zach Wilson fumbled, I knew the game was over. I knew it. I literally knew it. I'm like, well, here we go. And it's just we've seen this so many times before, especially under Coach Saleh. How many in his short little career here of losing, how many big games has he been in where his team hasn't showed up? Think about it. Last year, they had 2 chances. Jaguars, Seahawks, laid a dud. One of them was at home on a primetime slate. So in this season that was almost lost, you have a glimmer of hope. The Jets gave us a glimmer of hope on yesterday. The Dolphins, you win this 6-8. Maybe you end the season on a run. Maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back. All these positive things. And this is what you get. A complete no-show performance to the point where the defense quit in the second half. They quit. They gave up. They're like, you know what? I ain't fed up with this garbage. That's where we're at, dude. I can't believe they played that badly. I honestly can't believe it was that bad yesterday.
Dude, and what makes it even worse is, I think it's relevant. I think it's important to talk about that it wasn't just a one-off team. It wasn't the Giants. It wasn't, Philly. This was a division rival. This is a team. This is a coach in Mike McDaniel that Robert Saleh has game planned for in the past. Just a couple of weeks ago on Black Friday, we game planned for the same exact team. We get blown out on Black Friday. Tons of problems. Tim Boyle, looked horrible. The offense looked horrible. The offensive, we all know it. No point to rehash him.
Right.
A couple of weeks goes by, and we play him again, and we look arguably worse. Without Tyreek Hill, like you said, Holland, Dolphins offensive line problems. I mean, dude, it's a flat out joke. And, like you said, you have players quitting. You look at some of these comments that Alan Lazard made, that Sauce Gardner made, that DJ Reed made, that Garrett Wilson made. even Robert Saleh, man, after the press conference, talking about game plans. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. That does not scream, I know what I'm doing. That screams to me, we're guessing here. We're throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it is what it is. We're gonna be here next year.
Well, because and the thing is, he got arrogant a couple weeks ago. We're like, listen, the scheme is fine. It's about execution. Like, there's guys running open. He goes, watch the all 22. You'll see what I'm saying. Okay, we're watching it, dude. So you had your one little pass there, but just like yesterday was so wild where you have like they were thoroughly outcoached. There was a lack of effort, lack of preparation. You're like, what are they doing? And just look at the offensive line, for example. And this is what drives me absolutely crazy is, dude, you played them a couple weeks ago, and everybody's saying, well, the Dolphins entered this game pissed off because they lost to the Titans. The Jets should enter this game more than motivated because they're playing for the season. Why did, like, everybody is so comfortable making excuses for the Jets, justifying losses? Well, the Dolphins are angry. Are the Jets ever angry? Can they ever have that attitude and that swagger? Like, hey, you know what? We want it more than you do in a big game. But we don't have that at all. And that's leadership. That's coaching. But remember what Saleh said. I don't coach to motivate my players. My players should be motivated by themselves, right? That's not true. But look at the offensive line. Dude, communication issues again. And you look at it, if you're doing a game preview, right? I'm going to go on a rant. I'm pissed.
Go ahead.
Look at the game preview. It's like you think in theory as a dumb Jet fan that we're going to run to the left side because we have Becton, you have Tomlinson, and then you have Tippmann. You know what? That should be the strength because Turner's not good and you have whoever else is at right guard. Dude, Tomlinson and Becton don't even know what the hell's going on. The guys are blowing by him left and right. Becton looked like he either hurt or lost, and nothing changes. The entire game has stayed the same. So, okay, so me as a fan, I'm like, if Becton's playing this poorly because he's hurt, why is Dwayne Brown here not playing then? Put Dwayne Brown in the game. They got to a point where they put a tight end next to Becton, and that still wasn't helping. The offensive line is a bona fide disaster. That falls on coaching. That falls on scheme. That falls on the players. That falls on Joe Douglas, Hackett, Saleh, all of them, dude. Like, Zach Wilson had no chance yesterday. He was completely getting his ass beat. And how many times has this happened before, dude? The offensive line, like, how is the offensive line coach not fired today? Like, how is nobody fired?
Dude, I mean, bro, like, you're talking about pass pro. That's only half the battle, dude.
Yep.
We don't have any success running the football at all. Week after week after week after week, we can't run. You know, you're always talking about run, third and long pass.
Yep.
You know, ideally, like it's a common thing in football, like run, third down, and typically short.
Yep.
But the reason why we're always in third and long, the reason why we're always passing on third down is because we're behind the 8 ball. You know, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11. God forbid we have a penalty in there too, pushing us back, you know, to see a 3rd and 15. How many 3rd and 10 pluses have we seen this so far this season? It's been a joke, man. I mean, I added up some numbers before, wrote them down. You know, so 15 weeks of the season here. Breece Hall has 697 rushing yards. He's one of the best backs in football, and he has 697 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns. That essentially means he can go out and have 3 great days, 300 rushing yard weeks, yep, right, back to back to end the season, and he's still not going to have 1,000 yards behind this offensive line. Dalvin Cook, Joe Douglas brought him in 1 year, $7 million? Yep, a lot of guaranteed there. I really did not see another team handing out a deal that size. Nope. 214 rushing yards, no touchdowns. Izzy Amenaconda, 18 rushing yards. The player that the Jets claimed that Izzy's replacing, Michael Carter, when he was here in the short, couple games, he had 71 rushing yards. So total with the 3 running backs that the Jets currently have on the roster, 929 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And then you look at the pass game and it's just like, okay, and we can't protect Zach. We can't protect Trevor. We can't protect Tim Boyle. Tackles are getting blown by. We have injuries all over the place. We've gone through 10 right guards this season. Yep. ABT's out again with another season ender. Yep. Instead of triceps, it's an Achilles. Dude, I'm looking at the offensive line. I feel good about 3. I think Joe Tippmann, obviously, hear me out. For 2024, Joe Tippmann, I think he's going to be solid, man. I really do believe in JT starting at center, AVT coming back from injury at right guard, and then Carter Warren on his rookie deal as a depth option. That's it. I'm done.
That's it after 5 years of Joe Douglas.
The offensive line guru.
Bro.
How many draft classes are having to be loaded into the class? Or sorry, loaded into the team? How many free agents have to be loaded in? And also free agent mistakes as well. It's not just the acquisitions, it's players leaving. George Fant is looking good for Houston.
Morgan Moses.
At right tackle, Morgan Moses looking good for Baltimore. Nate Hairbank, that was a guy who I really, really loved back when he was a Jet. I felt like that the reason why the transition was so seamless from AVT bouncing over to left tackle was because we had a really, really good guard step up and not really miss a beat there.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden you're kind of staying the same at right guard. And you're getting a huge boost at left tackle. We let him go. He sends a cheap multi-year contract to Pittsburgh Steelers early in free agency. I'm like, that was a no-brainer. And we don't bring him back. Where's the one issue on the offensive line that has been or presented the most problems? Right guard.
Yep. No, and the thing is this, it's like if Aaron Rodgers stayed healthy, I think we'd be seeing the same thing. I think he would be getting his ass beat all season long because they can't block, dude. They can't block, and the scheme and the coaching is not good. Like the problem I have is Aaron Rodgers is like this mythical creature that can overcome every facet of Jet problem in the eyes of Woody Johnson. Listen, there's a lot of problems here. Can you imagine us watching Aaron Rodgers get sacked 5 to 6 times a week? And then they'd be like, dude, we got to fire everybody. Because it was only Zach Wilson getting sacked. Everybody's like, you know what? Aaron Rodgers can get rid of the ball quicker. He can read a defense. He can do this. No, there's legitimate problems on the offensive line. You're just lying stuff at this point. You mean like everybody? That's the whole thing. Everybody kept telling me, dude, he'll get rid of the ball quickly. Zach couldn't get in the back. He couldn't do a 3-step drop without getting smoked because guys are running in clean the whole day. You know what I mean? That's what happens. That happened several times this year, not just yesterday.
And it's a great point. To kind of piggyback off of that, what does that say about team building? If you need your quarterback to step in and to be able to process at such a high level that the offensive line, that's what we're going to do. That's the plan instead of just getting better on the offensive line.
Yep.
I was kind of looking at, tackle options for the team next season. Slim pickings, dude. Andres Pete, Trent Brown, Tyron Smith. As far as like the draft goes, which to me is pretty much looking like a top 6 pick. Yep. Because if we look like that for the rest of the season, we're losing out. But Olu Fashanu from Penn State and then Joe Alt from Notre Dame. I know you're a Notre Dame guy, so I would love both of those guys. But that's pretty much it, dude. As far as like legitimate massive upgrades go, like potential game changers at the position. So
But doesn't that say something that you need one of the best quarterbacks of all time to figure out and save your offense because there's nothing else anybody can do. And the thing is, like, everybody was like, well, look at other teams. Okay, look at the Bengals. Joe Burrow goes out, Browning comes in, they're still running their offense. But with Aaron Rodgers goes out, and it's like, oh no, the offense is very complicated. It's this, it's that. It's like, dude, how complicated could it be that you need the one of the best ever can only run it, and that's it? And the offensive line, and then you figure he's going to be 40 years old next year, and you got to protect him, dude. If you can't protect him, we're just wasting our time. And now it's like the problem I have is we'll go into more into the game, but we're literally giving Joe Douglas a 6th year, another year to rebuild this offensive line in a complete Super Bowl or bust year. That's it. Next year is all about either win the Super Bowl or you failed, because Aaron Rodgers ain't coming back for another year, dude. I'm not buying this 3 more years nonsense. I'm not. Especially, it's like I just don't see it. And that's the problem you have. You honestly have faith in Joe Douglas getting another year to spend more cap space and use draft capital to rebuild this team, have Saleh coach this team. Like, I don't have faith in anyone. Because, dude, if we're being honest, Ian, say Aaron Rodgers wasn't here, right? And this was the current team we have. What would the conversation on this show be? We need to fire everybody as soon as possible, clean house and start over. But that'd be the conversation. The only reason why we're not doing that is because we have a savior here that's supposed to offset all of our freaking problems on coaching, all our personnel problems, all our scheme problems, everything. Aaron Rodgers is that good, dude?
Yeah, I mean, it's to kind of. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like that's one of the things that people always kind of talk about with Rodgers' career in Green Bay. It's like, when are they going to get him some help? When are they going to give him some wide receivers or go all in? Kind of like the Bengals did with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, boom, like load up, Orlando Brown, add pieces to the team, make Joe Burrow's life as easy as possible. Like Josh Allen, they gifted him Stephon Diggs. Yep. And you talked about the Bengals before and Jake Browning. we could we can also talk about the Colts, dude.
Minshew.
A young rebuilding team that finished with the 4th overall pick in the draft with a rookie head coach in Steichen.
Yep.
Starts Anthony Richardson. He goes down. Gardner Minshew takes over. Where are the Colts at? 7th seed right now at 8-6. We have not had an 8-win season under Robert Saleh, and we're in year 3. And by the way, even if we win out, what I think we're 8-9, right? You know, like that's it, dude. It's hard to watch, man. It really, really is. And then you get the Cleveland Browns at 9-5, second in the NFC North. You know, they've gone through 4 QBs: DTR, PJ Walker, Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, ex-Jet. It's like the other team, Minnesota Vikings, they're hanging around, right, with their backup quarterback situation. Other teams are like, oh man, like they get hit in the mouth and they're like, okay, well, this sucks. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's the NFL. Jobs are on the line. There's accountability here. We're the best of the best. We believe in the other 52 guys in the locker room. We can push forward. Where it's like, it's just such a I want to use a word. I'm not going to use it, but it's such an embarrassing look from Douglas to punt on the season after a week 1 win.
Yeah, but is it punting, or are they just incompetent, or are they arrogant? Like I think it could be both, dude.
I agree, but the reason why I say punting is because he's not bringing guys in for workouts. So the only move that we made was trading away. We subtracted McCole Hardman at the deadline. We didn't add anybody. We signed Roger Saffold 5 minutes after the deadline, who's not even in game shape, and we're going into week 16. That to me is not that's not proactive. You know, you took him 3-4 weeks to bring in Trevor Siemian after Rodgers goes down. Yep. We talked about this, I think, on the last podcast episode. You know, it's so draining to kind of bring this up because it's just so frustrating when you start just looking realistically at not only just the statistics, but the eye test. Every free agent acquisition offensively has either been right as advertised or below.
Yep.
Quickly to go through them: Laken Tomlinson, objectively disappointing. CJ Uzama, objectively disappointing. Dalvin Cook, McCole Hardman, Alan Lazard, Tim Boyle, Billy Turner. The only one to me that like stands out that is like a decent, you know, player on the Jets offense that's kind of living up to what he's getting paid is Tyler Conklin.
Yep.
But you know, every Randall Cobb's a healthy scratch for the most part.
Yeah, it's,
you know, like it's just hard to watch, man. Like what GM just has like whiff after whiff after whiff after whiff, not to mention whiffing on the 2nd overall pick in Zach Wilson.
Yep. Not
to mention having 6 first-round picks in whatever it is 4 years and still not being able to get to 500. Like at some point, we have to look at this organization from a top-down perspective, as opposed to just saying like, oh, it's all Saleh's fault. It's all Hackett's fault. It's all the offensive line, or it's, you know, Zach Wilson was scapegoated at one point. And then it kind of seemed like Tim Boyle was scapegoated at one point, or after that second week, I believe after the Dolphin game, they cut him and Zach, you know, gives us the best chance to win. We told you that Zach, you know, and he goes out and has a good day, whatever, man. Like it's just too many whiffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's too many whiffs from Joe Douglas, and what makes it worse is they're not being well coached. Like, you look at yesterday's game, the offensive line is a disaster. It's been a disaster most of the year. And it's communication, dude. They literally don't know what they're doing. Like halfway through the game, like, did they practice this week? Or are they busy looking for Pro Bowl votes? Like, what are they doing? What's the priority here? Because they're not practicing. They can't have this much miscommunication where like Chubb's running in free, dude. Like what? Like how is that even possible? Like, you know what guys you want to key on, right? And then you look at just the scheme, the game plan. Like, how is Garrett Wilson not targeted till the 3rd quarter? How is that humanly possible? Where it's like 3-step drop, let it rip, dude. Slants, whatever you want. Quick slants, screens. I don't care what you do. How can every other team find ways to get a guy the ball? And you look at the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill out, you're like, all right, they're going to go to Jalen Waddle. That's what they're going to do. The Jets didn't stop him, but that's what, you know, it's like teams should know we're going to Garrett Wilson. At least try. The 3rd quarter, I felt terrible for him, dude. Like his post-game presser, he's been a class act the entire season. He's a leader. He's a good guy. And the frustration, like, I don't blame him. You saw the conversation on the sideline with him and Aaron Rodgers where you're like, he's just like, and Saleh didn't see it, of course. He's busy like pondering the skies. But like, you feel bad for Garrett Wilson. Like, you do. You're like, he deserves better. Breece Hall deserves better. They're ridiculously frustrated. And the fact that Alan Lazard commented about effort, to me, is comical. That is the epitome of the Jets. A guy that you bench because he sucks comes out and says, you know what, we're being out executed and outperformed. Like, bro, can you imagine that's the guy that says something of all people to say something? Like,
Yeah,
you see
it's
the
like
irony in that?
it's almost like him taking a shot back at Saleh because Saleh
100%.
said, "Oh, he's going to be here for a year and a half."
Yeah,
He
yeah,
went right back at him and said, "Oh, not only did they out effort us, but they also out schemed us as
yeah.
well." And it's like, it's one thing if it's Mike LaFleur, right, last year, and it's just like, okay, well, you just have the Jets. This is such a small sample size. With Hackett, no. He was the worst coach in football last year.
Yep.
Got fired. Sorry, signed a 4-year contract with Denver and got fired not even one season in.
Yep.
What you see bad coaches survive, right? Matt Patricia in Detroit, right? Like it happens.
Yep.
You don't see guys that get let go before the first year of their contract even ends.
Yep.
The only one that I can somewhat remember is Frank Reich this season. And the Carolina Panthers are kind of a disaster. It just seems like it's up in flames, and the owner's just kind of, trying to have too much control. But, the point is everybody in Denver, fans, players, other coaches, everybody knew what the issue was. And Sean Payton had his comments, whatever, and he gets the job with the Jets, and everybody something's awry when the first thing that everybody thinks of when you think about the Jets hiring Nathaniel Hackett is this is just a ploy to get Aaron Rodgers here.
100%.
We're not getting him because of his offensive mind. We're not getting him because of his quarterback development skills. We're not getting him because of his offensive system, or his play call, whatever it is. We're getting him because he's friends and has worked with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. When
he was in Green Bay, he wasn't calling plays. Mm-hmm. And I would like to think that Rodgers can look at the situation and say, I'm a future first ballot Hall of Famer with or without these dudes. I'm not going to the Hall of Fame because of Nathaniel Hackett, because of Alan Lazard. This is just a disgrace. There's no, I don't care if you're Josh Allen, man, or Pat Mahomes or Jalen Hurts. If they were behind this Jets offensive line with this cast of weapons, with this play caller, with this lack of running game, I mean, are they really going to be what they are today? Absolutely not, man. Absolutely not.
And the thing you wonder about is we're talking about, you go into the game and you're watching the offensive line melt. Does Saleh give any insight to Hackett or somebody? Hey, man, he's a CEO, dude. He kind of oversees everything, so he's not involved in play calling. But you're listen, we can't block here. We can't block here. Let's short up. Let's change something. Put Dwayne Brown in. Do something else. Why aren't we getting Garrett Wilson involved? It's always gotta watch the tape. Well, you can't watch. You're on the sideline during the game. Your job is to run this team and figure out ways to win, not be the overseer and have just throw the red flag every once in a while and call timeouts and call really bad fake punts. So it's I don't understand it, dude. It doesn't make any sense. He's not good. Saleh's not good. Hackett's not good at all. He's not. So if you're Aaron Rodgers and you saw him yesterday shaking his head on the sideline, how do you want to come back to this? Be all right, I can make something out of this. What's making something out of it? Coming back next year and winning 8 games? The reason why you have Aaron Rodgers is to win a Super Bowl. That was your big swing. Basically get 2 good years out of him to make Super Bowl run. That's what we were talking about, right? We talked about it.
Yep.
Win the AFC East, win run. You don't bring him here to win 9 games and just make the playoffs and bow out gracefully. That's not what he's here for. So now this year is a complete disaster where you're wiping out a good defense, wasted them all this year. Now you have Garrett Wilson frustrated, Breece Hall frustrated, and you go in the next year where it's the biggest problem I have is, do you honestly, once the season's over, we're all oh, season's over, Aaron Rodgers is back. But do you have faith in this organization in basically a 1-year run to win a Super Bowl to actually do all the right things to get us there? And my answer is I don't have that faith. I'm not going to be that fan guy oh, you know what? We're back. Aaron's back. No, I have no faith in this organization, coach, coordinator, Joe Douglas. I don't have it, dude. I don't see how it's going to work next year. Not to the point where it's winning a Super Bowl. I don't see it.
Well, if I could see that playing out if we keep everything status quo. I'm talking offensive line and whatnot. I mean, if we have a top pick and we add some nice additions on the offensive line, Rodgers comes back healthy and whatnot, and I'm trying to look at it optimistically, of course we have a shot. But I think one thing that's kind of underrated to talk about with not only just the constant losing, constantly finishing beneath 500, and constantly not only just justifying the losses, but enabling the losses, refusing to look to try to upgrade at specific positions from the general manager. These players are not stupid. Players want to win. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, all these young players that the Jets have on cheap rookie deals. Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, Elijah Vera Tucker, Breece Hall. At some point, you're going to have to pay them. Right now, they're on their cheap rookie deals. But is Garrett Wilson going to look down at his phone when he gets the notification that Nathaniel Hackett's going to be coming back for next season? And is he going to jump for joy? No, he's probably going to roll his eyes and be like, what are we even doing here? You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers went out and fired their offensive coordinator. Why? Because it wasn't working. Buffalo Bills, they fired their offensive coordinator. It was a great offense. They were top 10 in numerous categories, but they didn't feel like they were living up to their potential. See you later, Dorsey. We're going to go with Joe Brady, and they're so much better off. You know, we saw Philadelphia essentially name Matt Patricia the defensive coordinator. The Eagles have 10 wins, and they're still trying to make moves and try to get better. The Jets are a laughing stock, and we're like, we're okay. We're okay. We're okay. I mean, a part of it, too, is just like, you know, does anybody, because we saw, I believe it was Darrell Bevell turn down the Jets OC job. I think maybe that could be another part of it. You know, before we brought in Aaron Rodgers, when Derek Carr was a possibility, when the non-exclusive trade, non-exclusive franchise tag trade idea was going on for Lamar Jackson, when Aaron Rodgers was still a possibility, no, it didn't really seem like there were people lining up for this Jets OC job. So now with Aaron Rodgers, if you fire Hackett, I mean, personally, if I was an OC out there, or if I was, you know, a QB coach or something, I would love to kind of get in on this and work with A-Rod and try to turn it around. But I feel like a lot of candidates probably see the writing on the wall, writing on the wall with Saleh, and they're like, do I really want to sign myself up to potentially go down with the ship? If Rodgers gets hurt again, it's like, oh, what are we doing? So maybe that has something to do with it too, where it's like we essentially gave Hackett the job with like a hidden agenda to get A-Rod here. Just such a weird situation, man.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers calls all the shots because they're going to cater to his every want. Like, all right, he's going to say, listen, I need Hackett here to run my offense. I don't want to learn a new offense. I don't want a new coordinator. I don't want all that. So then you're basically stuck with him, right? And that's the problem. But the other problem I have is it's just you look at this coach in Hard Knocks and all his bravado and all his talk and all the cursing and all these things. He come off like this big badass coach, right? Where he's holding his players accountable. All gas, no break, and all these other freaking t-shirt slogans he has that mean nothing to anybody. But now it's like the players, he's like a used car salesman now, bro. He says one thing, he does the other. Like you can't see him being like, the players like him because he's good to them. He never calls them out. He doesn't blast them in the media. He takes all the blame. So he's a legitimate players coach. But the problem I have is accountability, leadership, all of that. You don't see it. So now the more Saleh talks, the guys are probably like, whatever, dude. Like they respect him as a man. I don't think they respect him as a coach. I mean, of course, Solomon Thomas is going to say he likes him. It's one of his best friends, and that's one of his guys. But like, as like these young players, they, like you said, they want to win, dude. It's about winning, about results. Like winning in New York is great. Everybody loves you. You get all the headlines, all this stuff. But losing here, they're all experiencing now, sucks because the social media is crazy. The fans are wild, and you're constantly just getting ripped everywhere. So they get tired of it, dude. I just don't think Saleh is the right guy for the job. And I think this is basically Aaron Rodgers' team. He's like the general manager, the coach, the coordinator. He's everything now. And that's what you're counting on to save us. One guy has to save all of us from that. And I don't know, dude. I think the Jets are in a really bad spot. I do. I hate the position. I wish he would come out and say, you know what? Like him on McAfee tomorrow is gonna be interesting because he's got to talk about it. And it's it's historically a horrible offense. Like you're breaking all kinds of records for the wrong reasons. He's got to talk about it. He's got to talk about his friend, the coordinator, and be like, well, you were seen on the sideline shaking your head. Were you pissed off at the play call? Like, what were you mad about? What does he say? He could be, I don't know. But I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm so frustrated. I guess you're a lot more optimistic than I am. And that's why I always like watching your videos and stuff, because you always find the bright side and you do things. And I had that cynical head in me where it's like, all right, he's going to come back for 1 year. And I just think if it doesn't go perfectly, Next year is going to be the year they could. How many years does Saleh have as a head coach on his contract? Is it 5 or 4?
I believe 5.
So he's going into year 4, right? Next year will be year 4, right? This is his third year.
Yep.
So then you're getting close to, all right. So if you have him next year and they have, just say they have a 9-8 year, Aaron Rodgers does whatever, and Aaron Rodgers retires. Saleh's going into the last year of his contract. Do you say, well, we're going to give you a whole new coach, you got to do like a whole new quarterback, all this stuff? Do you extend them then? Like, how do you even do it? You know what I mean? There's so many questions you have to ask that you're in a gray area with all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to be saying this, man. It sucks to be sitting here saying this right now at the end of the season after being eliminated from the playoffs, but I can't even think about that because we have to walk before we can run. We have to figure out how to protect the quarterback. We have to figure out how to run the football. We have to figure out how to draft and sign players at an efficient rate, like well-ran teams in football, like the Baltimore Ravens. You know, and I talked about Pittsburgh before. Yeah, they're dropping games. Yeah, they've experienced some embarrassing losses. But even with this huge losing streak, New England, Indianapolis, they're still in the mix. They're still in the playoff picture. You know, people want to talk about, Mike Tomlin and his leadership. I think that's accurate.
It is. But that's the question I have for you, though. It's like, and I know, like, for listening and watching, I know I'm coming off really negative because I'm genuinely pissed off. Like, I'm fed up with this, and I hate losing, and I hate watching a 30-0 blowout because it wasn't the first bad game of the year. It's probably like the 5th or 6th bad game of the year that they played some games where it's unwatchable and you don't enjoy watching football. That's the problem I had. Like, we watched 3 hours of garbage yesterday. We watched 3 hours two weeks ago. It was complete garbage. So then you're trying to figure out, how do you make this better? And my only solution, as much as I love Aaron Rodgers, my only solution is you got to make changes at the coach. You have to.
Well, let me say this. Because I personally, I don't want to make a change to the coach to make a change to the coach. I want
that's the problem.
To have a 100% better option out on the table. Somebody that Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, right, because he's now in the mix as a shot caller, he's essentially on the same level as Joe Douglas now. Like, you have to bring somebody in that, in my opinion, has done it before.
100%.
Somebody who has been a head coach before. Somebody who can right the ship, bring organization to an organization, bring stability to a team.
Discipline.
And I think if you get a guy in the building that Rodgers kind of respects, like has that mutual respect with, that is kind of like Bruce Arians and Tom Brady.
Yes.
Arians had his separate success. Brady had a separate success. They never worked together. A lot of the times they're actually on opposite sidelines, Arians in Pittsburgh and, Indianapolis and whatnot. But, at the end of the day, it was two, former foes joining forces because of that mutual respect. Right. I think and it's tough too, because now it opens the question like, okay, well, who's out there, and, you can toss out random names like the Marvin Lewises of the world and whatnot. Really only Aaron Rodgers will, he probably has a list. But along with that, there's a lot of stuff that comes with it, right? Even with a great coach and a great quarterback, what's the offensive line going to look like? Is Hackett still going to be involved with the team some way, somehow? Whoever's going to be running the defense, are they going to be competent enough to step in and, make it work with a 4-3? Or are they going to want to switch things up and kind of, take a couple seasons, or I guess take a couple off seasons rather, to build their own roster? I think we need somebody to come in immediately and just bring some, we keep using the word accountability. I don't want to sound like a broken record, just an adult at head coach, right? And I'm not saying that Saleh isn't. I'm not saying that Saleh is, completely clueless or anything like that. I do feel like he has some likable qualities, but it does feel like he's in over his head. I feel like Joe Douglas is not helping him whatsoever.
Nope.
If there were better offensive linemen on the team, I'm sure Saleh would roll them on out there. But the fact of the matter is, people keep getting hurt, and there's no replacements to back them up. I'm sure Saleh would have loved to start Gardner Minshew. Problem was, he's on another team. Same thing with Teddy Bridgewater. Same thing with Mariota.
So to your point, then, I mean, a lot of the problems that we've talked about are actually Joe Douglas's problems. Like, he caused a lot of these problems. That's the biggest thing. But if you fire Joe Douglas, you got to fire Saleh, because you can't have the whole, You don't want to inherit a coach. So say they keep Saleh, right? But then they say, okay, somebody with a brain and one Jets drive says, you know what, we got to change this coordinator, man, because there's got to be a price to pay for losing like this. Like last year, the scapegoat was Mike LaFleur, right? And Zach Wilson, kind of. This year, like you can't have a year where you're this bad statistically and say nobody loses their job. Like, because like, what's the message to the players? Like the players are gonna be like, wait, you benched Lazard, he did this, you benched Zach for this. Meanwhile, the coaching is inept to the point we're calling you out in the media now saying we're being out, we're out schemed, and there's gonna be no changes. The locker room's gonna be like, how are we bringing this back? We suck right now.
Dude, yeah, exactly, man. And like we talked about the Bills before, they fired Ken Dorsey, a young up-and-coming offensive mind with a top 10 offense. And people, the media were calling them idiots. Oh, the Bills season's over.
Yep.
The reason why they did that is because they didn't feel like they were living up to their potential as an offense.
Yep.
The moment that the Bills fired Dorsey and promoted Joe Brady, who is young and unproven, it caught players' attention. They're like, okay, whoa, McDermott's running the show here. He's not putting up for anything less than being great. And we're going to go out there and see what Joe Brady has to offer. And Joe Brady has turned things around. And because of that, every offensive player for the Buffalo Bills is 1,000% bought into not only just what Joe Brady has to say, what he's bringing to the table offensively, but also Sean McDermott, because Sean McDermott is the architect. He's the mastermind of this whole damn thing, right? If it wasn't for him making that change, because he could have threw his hands up and said, "Oh, you know what? We'll take all the yards, we'll take all the points." But in the critical, situations, the big game situations, we'll continue to suck with those and continue to turn the football over. We're going to finish around the 500 mark.
Yep.
He could have done that and said, well, at the end of the day, the numbers, they look good, but the wins aren't going to be there. He could have done it, right? But he didn't. And I think because he did that, and they're now having success with it, you're seeing it's kind of like a rubber band effect, right? Like you're seeing that, like this big stretch, now all of a sudden it's working and everybody's completely buying back in, like, whoa, Sean McDermott knows what he's doing. He really believes in us. But for the Jets, if you're Garrett Wilson, if you're Breece Hall, again, you're looking at, they know what people are saying about him. They're looking at the numbers. They're looking at their own stats. Breece Hall, 697 yards, 2 touchdowns for one of the best running backs in the entire game. I mean, they're looking at these numbers and they're saying, oh yeah, no changes. Hackett's going to be back. It's not the problem. Like you kind of feel like there is going to be somebody that's going to be outed, whether it's Keith Carter or Todd Downing. Personally, based off of what I've seen so far this season, I would like changes at both of those positions.
Me too.
Really all three with Hackett, but that's obviously the big question there. But even like optically speaking, if you're a young wide receiver, on the team, again, if you're Garrett Wilson or whoever, if you're Jeremy Ruckert, if you're AVT, you clean house, right? You fire the offensive staff, but you keep Hackett. It's like, yeah, we respect the hell out of A-Rod, but Hackett's just a puppet then. He's just here because Rodgers wants him to. Like, as far as the respect goes, as far as like a player actually believing in an offensive coordinator, that is not there whatsoever. And dude, like, you have to have that healthy player-coach relationship where the players buy into the system, they buy into the plays. You don't want to be in a situation where players, hear a play get rang in or the QB rattles off a play and then look at the offensive coordinator, look at themselves like, this sucks. This is not going to go anywhere. I don't trust this guy. You think you're going to be playing at 100% if that's the mindset in each individual play? Nope.
You saw it yesterday with Garrett Wilson. You saw Garrett Wilson on the sideline yesterday talking to Aaron Rodgers. Like, you can see he's so animated. Like this is just, there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. And there's so many problems. And the problem you have now is the Aaron Rodgers is lingering over. So if Joe Douglas goes to him and say, listen, man, what do you want guys cut? What do you want guys fired? Because this is one of the worst offenses we've ever seen. And as Jet fans, we've seen a lot of bad offenses, but this is the worst we've ever seen. And Aaron Rodgers is like, if he goes, I go. Then what do you do? Like, does Aaron Rodgers pull that card where it's like, listen, this is my guy. If he goes, I'm not coming back. Or like, does that even happen? Or does Aaron Rodgers go to Saleh and say, listen, man, would he say? I don't think he'd ever say fire his friend. I don't think he'll ever do that. So I kind of think Aaron Rodgers is smarter than. You think so? You think he'd say, you know what? Like tomorrow on McAfee comes out and says, you know what? This offense, it's just not what we need right now. Would he ever say something like that about his friend? Probably not. You think he would?
Behind closed doors.
Think so?
I mean, dude, Rodgers' legacy's on the line too. You think he wants to go out in his last season of his career getting 6 wins.
That'd be interesting.
Nah, he wants to go out like Brady in Tampa and Peyton in Denver, Stafford with the Rams. Like he wants to go out. Like that's the whole reason why. Like he could have retired. He has enough money. He has a legacy. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He has a Super Bowl championship. He has the MVPs. He has everything. He could have stayed in Green Bay, but he chose to move across the country and try to do something great with the Jets, which I completely respect. Like I still love A-Rod.
Yep.
I'm still excited to see how it plays out, but I don't think you get to that point by just wanting to be coached by your friends. I think if anything, Hackett's position might be moved within the organization, or he might just be like keep the title as OC, but maybe have a different play caller. Because I think at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers wants to be in a place that's going to elevate him. Hey, Aaron, you really want that wide receiver that you keep on talking about? Here you go. We're going to go make it happen. I think that was kind of the draw actually with all the meetings, right? With Joe Douglas and Saleh and, all the whole the contingent flying out to California. It's like a sell job, right? They're selling what we can do for you. They're trying to convince him to come play for us. And what better way to do that? Of course, the money is the money, but we're going to go get your buddy Devontae Adams. We're going to try to make that push. You want Dalvin Cook? We'll go get him. So yeah, the Jets are selling out. They did sell out for Rodgers, but and only time will tell, is Rodgers right in his way of thinking? But if you look at Green Bay, like when was the last time they made a splash on the offensive side of the football during Aaron Rodgers' career there? It was all random mid-round picks, like the Jordy Nelsons of the world, the Randall Cobbs of the world.
They're also much better coached, though.
Say what?
They were also much better coached, though.
Let me throw this at you. If Dallas fires McCarthy,
that gets interesting.
And McCarthy's out there, would you make the swap? McCarthy and Rodgers reunite in New York.
Well, McCarthy's better than Saleh. He's a proven guy. He fits the mold. A proven guy. He's calling the plays in Dallas now. He took over play calling in Dallas. I mean, like I guess, I know I'm coming off something. I'm just so down because there's so many red flags right now that things we've seen. Like the benefit the Jet fans have is we've seen bad coaches throughout the years, so we know them when we see one. We see like the glaring issues, like the excessive penalties, the lack of discipline. All we've seen
starting slow, dude. Starting slow is still an issue.
Yep. So you look at that, and it's like, and the Rodgers thing, McCarthy would be interesting. And then you made a really good point. I didn't even think about that. They could keep Hackett, but say they fire Downing and Carter and bring another guy that has Rodgers ties and be like, all right, Hackett's going to, create the playbook, but this guy's calling the plays or something like that. They kind of add like a little nuance to like their staff. That could possibly work, I guess.
I mean, you kind of feel like Rodgers is like he could call his own damn plays. Like maybe that's what he's doing on the sidelines. He's getting experience calling plays and just getting ready for next season.
But you don't have any concerns about this truly being an all-in year for next year, and then we're going to be stuck. We're going to have no Rodgers and a coaching staff that we still don't have faith in going into their last year in their contract.
Yeah, I do. I'm right there with you. I'm not sitting here saying that everything is guaranteed to work out, but this is the bed that Joe Douglas made. He now has to lay in it. You want to go trade everything for Aaron Rodgers. You want to go get all of his buddies. You want to make him essentially co-GM, bringing in Randall Cobb, trading Elijah Moore, signing Allen Lazard. One quick thing too, it might not necessarily have to do with Aaron Rodgers, but one thing I was thinking about the other day, the Jets have had 4 players mysteriously leave the team. Corey Davis retiring, McCole Hart, just out of the blue, random.
Yep.
We had McCole Hardman getting traded. I just don't, whether he's on the field working or not, whatever it is. I mean, McCole Hardman seemed pumped up to be a Jet.
He did.
I'm not going to let it go because that, although Hardman's not lighting the league on fire or anything, it just shows that you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
As an offensive staff and as a GM. They keep talking about them being in lockstep with each other, right? They're hand in hand, Saleh and Douglas. I don't believe that. I don't think it's as smooth as everybody's kind of portraying it to be. And then you had the random release of Michael Carter. The response was Izzy. That's clearly not the case.
Nope.
He has 18 rushing yards on the season. We had the mutual parting of ways with Adrian Amos. And he like, oh yeah, well, he wants to go sign with, with a contender. Okay, you're thinking KC or Baltimore or, Philly or Dallas
Yep.
or, one of these top teams. He signs with the Houston Texans, who are fighting to make a wild card
Yep.
spot. And so you're looking, it's four mysterious, strange releases or trades or a retiring situation that's all popped up out of the blue that I can't really like. When was the last time the Jets talking about a meaningful player round? Cause I don't want to throw in like a James Morgan because Michael Carter did contribute. He did
Yeah.
flash.
Yep.
That was a move that caught a lot of people off guard. Not like
Yep.
a Jamario Zuniga situation where it's just like,
Right.
okay, it had to be done. It's just a swing and a miss.
Yep.
Like I just you don't really see NFL teams just randomly cut a young rookie that's hardly getting paid anything. You don't really see teams trade a free agent that they just signed, and it's not like he's out on the field disappointing, and it's not like he's being, he's late to meetings, and he's not like he's causing problems. Again, the Corey Davis retiring, that came out of nowhere. But yeah, it's just like a mutual parting of ways in the middle of the season, and then like an hour later, everything got changed to the New York Jets went out and released Amos. Weird.
Yeah, and well, the thing is too, it's like now that everything's hitting the fan now, all the leaks are gonna come out, all the stories are gonna start coming out, and Connor Hughes already started it today, where he's like, everything that I've been hearing off the record is now starting to be saying on the record, and that's when there's cracks in the foundation, because people, when you start losing and you're not getting your stats, you're not getting your numbers, and you're getting blown out 30-0, players get fed up, dude. They're like, you know what? I'm not buying into this. Here's my story. Here's my story. You're gonna see more of that. And it's interesting because that culture, that the Jets don't have a culture. They don't like the face of the franchise didn't play this year. There is no all gas, no break. There is no there's none of that here, dude. Like they have no identity in offense. They have a great defense, but it's difficult, man. And the fact that we're having this conversation in mid-December is frustrating as hell because you enter the offseason again with a lot of questions, probably more questions than answers at this point, because you have your couple of knowns. Like you didn't mention Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson's a healthy scratch every week now. Like that's another bust. That's been a big miss that they actually restructured, kept him here. It's interesting, dude. I don't know. Like I'm curious. Like I cannot wait for Woody Johnson to meet the media and Joe Douglas to meet the media, and they've got to start answering questions they got to own their mistakes. They have to, and then getting the chance to do it next year that's crazy. I don't know, man. I just don't. Because and then you figure you got a lot of these guys that Aaron Rodgers brought in his friends. A lot of them you want to cut, right? You don't want them coming. Like Dalvin Cook's not coming back. Is Billy Turner coming back? No. Cobb should be gone. Like, a lot of guys he wanted here this year should all be gone next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, dude, again, the bar is set so low. Like everybody's like going on and on about Randall Cobb catching the touchdown pass. Like we're talking about catching a touchdown pass
It's just
in the NFL.
Yep.
Like this isn't like high school football. Like we shouldn't be, look, if you're an undrafted free agent, cool. If you're a rookie snagging your first one, awesome.
Yep.
But if we're talking about like everybody's celebrating and congratulating Randall Cobb and this and that, catching a touchdown pass, dude, like there's teams out there that are younger doing way more.
Yep.
Houston and Indianapolis specifically. And even Jacksonville too, to a certain degree. I know Jacksonville isn't like filled with a bunch of rookies and second-year players, but when you look at the timelines, the Jets needed a head coach the same year as the Jaguars. The Jets hired Saleh. The Jags hired Urban Meyer. Yep. Urban Meyer was a disaster. They get the first pick in the draft again, so then they start over once again, re-roll the dice with Doug Peterson, and somehow they still overtake the Jets with one less year.
Yep.
So, it makes you question everything in place. A loss like this makes you look at the Houston game and say, yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Well, that's
of
exactly
course, the Jets are probably going to scrape together one win, in December, January. They can't go on like a massive losing streak, like an 8-game losing streak or something like that. So it's almost like the win is an anomaly. And the losing is normal, right? That's totally fine. And it's not even just losing, man. Like there were some really, really close games this past weekend, like Minnesota Cincy and the Titans Dolphins game. Like there was a lot of close games, and the Jets are sitting here getting blown off the field
again.
30-0, dude. 30-0. Guys are confused. It's like, man, we have so many issues that need to be like a part of me just wants to wipe the slate clean. New
Yep.
head coach, new general manager.
Yep.
We need to me, we need accountability, we need leadership, we need a culture, and we need an adult in the room, somebody that is maybe worked with taking over a dysfunctional team and getting them on the right track. That's why I mentioned Marvin Lewis before. Trying to think of other guys on the fly, potentially Mike McCarthy if he gets fired.
Tomlin,
Say that.
Harbaugh, yeah.
Yeah, but those guys aren't coming, I don't think.
No. But the thing is, and that's my biggest problem in all of this. It's like, what is their blueprint? What is their vision? Because they sold us a vision.
It doesn't seem like there is one. That's, to me.
And Joe Douglas's vision was, the trenches, all about the trenches. He epically failed. Like, you're going into next year with so many questions on the offensive line where you need at least, I think they need 3 starters. You love AVT, I love AVT, but right now his record says what he is. He's injury prone. Back-to-back years, missed a lot of time, right? Becton's got to go. Tomlinson hasn't been that great. So you're going to say Tippin, AVT, and a half of Tomlinson, right? But you need a lot of help there. And you have to count on Joe Douglas, who's failed 5 times already, to do it the 6th time and nail it. He's literally got to nail it, dude. And that's giving a lot. And then you say, okay, we need wide receiver help. We need running back help. We need a lot of other things, right? It's
Guard help.
It's just
like I'm talking behind the starters. We have no offensive line depth. So if somebody does go down, it's like, well, there's the position. We're going to start for the rest of the year.
And the other thing, you have 2 things going against you as well. And I know I'm really, really negative today, and I apologize. But the thing is, it's just like, all right, if you draft a player, it's fine. They got to come here. No big deal. In terms of free agency, playing with Aaron Rodgers is awesome. I'm sure everybody wants to play with him, right? But how long are you going to be playing him? How long are you be playing with him for? If I'm a free agent, do you want to have 1 year, maybe 2 with Aaron Rodgers, or have 3 years with Burrow or Mahomes or Dak or whoever else? Like, you want, like, when you're a free agent, you want money and you want to win, right? You want a good opportunity. Or do you have a lot of faith in the Jets giving you that? And the MetLife turf, which everybody hates.
And Hackett as the offensive coordinator.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the Jets program, like this year, we thought, having Rodgers and Hackett, everybody's gonna love it. Everybody's gonna want to come here. Boom, boom. The guys that came here were his friends. Lazard's his friends. Like, it wasn't like the Jets got, Beckham was close, but got the Baltimore contract was crazy. But it wasn't like guys came flocking like, I want to play with Rodgers and Saleh. Like, I got to go play with the Jets. It wasn't really like that.
That was like the narrative that was being spun. Odell Beckham.
Yep.
Calais Campbell was another one.
Another one. He went to the Falcons.
Yep. Orlando Brown was another one. The Jets offered him more money.
Yep.
Not a ton more money, but he chose Cincinnati. And this was before the dysfunction of the season, dude.
That's what I'm saying, dude. But that's the point. It's like, all right, like, we have I'm coming up bad, but I love Rodgers, dude. I was excited to have him here. Like, I know he's a great player. I love watching him play, but are the Jets a desirable location for a free agent next year when if everything stays the same, everybody's on a hot seat? Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, and the offense this year is one of the worst we've ever seen. Do you want to spend – you may get 1 year, but if I'm signing a 3-year contract, do I want to deal with uncertainty and the chaos of the Jets, who's been a losing organization? They're known for losing. It's not like we have like a track record of success where it's like, oh, you know what? They had a bad year, but they usually win 10 games a year. No, we're known for losing. We haven't made the playoffs in 13 years, right? That's what we are. Like, am I lying? I'm not lying, dude. This is what the Jets are. So do you, as a free agent, want to come here? Do you, or as a coach? And you made the point before, like, if you're an offensive coordinator, do you want to take a chance and coach under Saleh and be with Aaron Rodgers, knowing the potential that it could be a 1-year deal and you're out of here?
Not a lot of people are going to be lining up.
No. So that's all the faith you have in Rodgers. He's got to overcome a lot of stuff for them to be successful next year. I really think he does.
The offensive line, man.
It's so bad.
We keep on going round and round in circles, but that's just the sad reality, dude. It's just like there's so many issues: run game, pass protect, run blocking, penalties, third downs, red zone, play callers, game plan, injuries. 2024, how the drama of Aaron Rodgers' influence. Should we keep Saleh? Should we fire him? Hackett? Is there any other team in football that has this amount of
just can't make it up?
Like weird
can't make it up. You literally can't make it up. And then just something as simple as Zach Wilson's injury yesterday. Something as simple as that. I thought he got hurt. I thought he got hurt on the first sack because he got cracked. But then the one where he got the delay game after,
he was getting hit a lot. He was getting
bro,
hit hard.
He was getting beat up. Like he was getting his ass beat. So I'm like, all right. Like I thought in the first quarter he was already banged up. So the second quarter comes out and it's like dehydration. I'm like, dehydrated. It's 70 degrees. I'm like, did he go out partying the night before? Like, how you dehydrate at 70 degrees? Like, it's no. I'm like, all right. They come out of half. He's still dehydrated. I'm like, didn't he get an IV? Like liquid IV, whatever. You give it to him. He'll be back, right? Then it's like, I think it was a neck injury he went to, or like a head injury, but not a concussion. Okay. Then boom, now it's concussion. Like, what? Like, why are we even playing this game? Like, why did the hydration game say he's being tested for a head injury? We don't know. That's it. Saleh today still couldn't even answer the question about it. He's like, well, it's about communication from up top, and that's it's concussion protocol. He couldn't even answer it, dude. He didn't even know what he was even talking about. It's your starting quarterback. How do you not know what's going on with your own team? Similar to when Garrett Wilson threw a pass with a hurt elbow.
The only time he ever
it's the same thing,
dude. One game where he has a hurt elbow.
It's like he doesn't know what's going on. It's like he's like everybody runs everything. He's like an overseer. He kind of looks around. He runs the stairs. He holds a red flag. He hangs out, yells at a ref once in a while, learns some new dances from the players, and that's it. That's what he's there for.
All right, bro. Last question. Last pitch I'm going to throw your way.
Oh God.
Bill Belichick and Aaron Rodgers team up in New York.
He hates the Jets. Belichick hates the Jets, dude.
But if he goes out and gets fired and has an opportunity to work with Aaron Rodgers.
He hates the Jets, dude. He'd rather no. Where would he go? He'd probably go to the Chargers with Herbert.
Across the country?
Dude, he's old, dude. Where would you rather be? In cold New Jersey dealing with this nonsense, or go out to LA, go out to California, nice sun, Herbert, no pressure, nobody bothers you?
I don't know, man. I would rather go to New York, but that's just me. That's just because I'm a fan.
Yeah, the other name everybody mentioned to us yesterday was John Gruden, but John Gruden has that checkered past, all the things that happened with the emails and all that legal stuff he has going on. Like John Gruden probably loved to coach Aaron Rodgers, but I can't see them. I couldn't see him. Well, there's two things. I can't see Woody Johnson actually paying somebody. He never pays coaches, and then I don't see them dealing with the whole backlash. I don't know where he stands legally, but I don't think he'd come here either.
Well, I mean, if you think back, it's like Rex Ryan wasn't. He didn't have head coaching experience.
Mm-mm.
Todd Bowles didn't.
No.
Adam Gase did, but it was such a short sample size with Miami.
Herm didn't.
Yeah, Herm didn't. Mangini didn't.
Mm-mm.
Saleh didn't.
Nope. They've never paid big for a coach ever. They flirted with big names.
They've interviewed big. They interviewed Marvin Lewis during that cycle. They interviewed Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
Not during that cycle, but the one previous with Adam Gase. Whatever that was, 2017, 2018, 2019, maybe. No, 2020, whatever it was.
Yep. They did Peterson and McCarthy.
Did they interview Doug Peterson?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I know, yeah, we interviewed Joe Brady.
Frank Reich.
Both times.
Yep.
Frank Reich. Matt Eberflus. I'm trying to think of more.
Matt Campbell, Lincoln Riley. Well, I think Matt Campbell turned them down.
Yeah, yep.
And that's the one really good point you made before about the coaching, because we got in that argument yesterday on our show, and it was like you don't want to fire Saleh just to fire him. You want to have a really good upgrade, and that's where you have your problem. Because I think the criteria we have established that you talked about, that I completely agree with, is that guy even out there at this point, and would he want to come here? And
well,
I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, what did we do with offensive coordinator? We fired Mike LaFleur to fire Mike LaFleur, and because somebody had to get blamed for it.
Yep.
Was it going to be Zach? Was it going to be Woody? Was it going to be Saleh? Was it going to be Joe Douglas? Yep. We have to figure out somebody to sacrifice, and it was Mike LaFleur. Yep. And they fired him without a plan in place.
Yep.
Saleh said, what was it? Like he had 11 candidates, and he landed with the best one.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. Like Carolina's in a weird spot. Nobody really is like dying to go there.
No.
Like Ben Johnson is like, he had a chance. He supposedly he got offered the job last year.
Yep.
He said, I'm going to hold off.
Yep.
It was before they drafted Bryce Young and before CJ Stroud has taken off. Before they, like Ben Johnson's going to take it now when he's take over now when he's handcuffed to Bryce Young and they don't have a first round pick.
Yeah,
And they're just further down the hole after Frank Reich got fired 1 year in. You don't know if Tepper's going to turn on you. Like Carolina is like a disaster as well. With like a high pressure job, they might have to have like that bridge year, like a like when the Niners went from like Harbaugh, I think it was Harbaugh, Chip Kelly, Tom Sula.
Yep.
And then they figured it out with Kyle Shanahan. But yeah, dude, I mean, I'm not firing Saleh just to fire him. We need to have a 1000% lock. Like if McCarthy gets fired, or the only coach I'm a little iffy with is Ron Rivera, as far as like a veteran who's been there and done that. Because you can say, oh, great defense, players love him, Super Bowl appearance as a head coach. A lot of veteran, really runs a tight ship, but that's the only coach I'm a little like. I'm open to Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, but you got
aren't, but I am. I love Marvin.
Think about Mike McCarthy too. He was a finalist last time. The Jets didn't choose him. He's going to be like, screw you, man. I ain't going there now. Like you guys didn't want me. Now look what you have, right? That's because he was one of the favorites according to some that he was going to get the job, and then they went in a different direction. So McCarthy made it like, listen, I'm not going there.
I mean, there's like you can talk about like young guys. Like I doubt Joe Brady would want to come interview for the third time.
Yeah, but you don't want a first time head coach though, dude. Like we this team this reminds me, because I'm old, dude. This reminds me when Parcells took over the team. You needed a guy as powerful as Parcells with that no nonsense attitude, my way or the highway. I'm getting rid of all this nonsense, complete discipline, complete respect on and off the field. This is our program, period. You need that kind of guy in the building, but you need a Sean Payton. That's what you need here. That's that's the kind of prominent personality, powerful, established, winning coach that comes in here. The first time guys get eaten alive in this building. So then you're like your Marvin Lewis, guys like that, maybe Jim Caldwell. You start mentioning guys like that, you're gonna have to, because that's the criteria for us. I don't want to take a chance on Joe Brady. The other guy, what was his name? Cliff Kingsbury was the name somebody mentioned yesterday, but he fell apart.
He's another guy that the Jets interviewed.
Yeah.
And he took Arizona instead.
Yep.
Trying to think of who else.
It's tough, dude. It's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll probably end up doing another podcast just because once the offseason hits, I'm definitely planning on keeping the podcast rolling.
Yeah, 100%.
There's so much stuff to talk about. And of course, I mean, who knows? Maybe the Jets, go 2-1 over the next 3 games, and Saleh stays, and it's no question, and we're all just kind of spitballing here. But yeah, dude, I think that's gonna be it for me.
The other thing too is, I'm going to mention this earlier. It's like, because this is how mad I am at Saleh. Like I just have a personal vendetta at this point, because they lost 6 in a row last year, right? So they lost 5 in a row going into the Texas game. Now they won that one, but now they lost this one. They could have a chance to lose like 7 out of 9 or something like ridiculous thing to end the season again. That's back-to-back seasons, dude, of like horrific endings. Like that's what you're willing to double down on again. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, and I guess one that kind of reminded me. There's the point I was talking about in the video I posted earlier. In a big game in the AFC, I'm talking playoffs, home, away, it doesn't matter. A big game against a playoff opponent. Chances are, right? Just like look, if you were to do like a Vegas odds thing, or poll the average NFL fan, you're going to be taking the opposition's head coach 90% of the time. Again, specifically talking playoff teams. To quickly run through them: Mike McDaniel, John Harbaugh, Zach Taylor, Andy Reid, Sean McDermott. Who else? Kevin Stefanski. That one, I think I would opt for Stefanski.
Yep.
Am I missing any more? Mike Tomlin. I think you can maybe make an argument for Shane Steichen and D'Amico Ryans at this point in time. Not to mention Sean Payton, who's a Super Bowl champion, Doug Peterson, who's a Super Bowl champion.
Yep.
I would honestly rather have Mike Vrabel. And I know the Titans aren't doing much this season, but I love Mike Vrabel. I think he's a great coach. He's kind of old school and defense first, run the ball, build through the trenches, tough attitude. That's my style of coach, old school.
Yep.
There's a lot of names, man. A lot of names you can just take. You're just glancing down the AFC, the teams in the AFC. do you trust Saleh in an away game going to Baltimore? Saleh and Hackett, I should say, going to Baltimore in the divisional round of the playoffs.
Nope.
It's like, no, you would not be surprised if Harbaugh outcoaches them.
No, your answer is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers will have to overcome the coaching to help us win the game. That's your answer. That's your only answer, because Saleh's resume is losing. He's a losing head coach. In a big spot, they lose. Season on the line, lose. Playoffs on the line, lose. And they're not even showing up in those games. That's just the facts. What's his record? That's what his record is. 2 years in a row, they're falling apart toward the end of the season. That's it. And it's like if he doesn't give you anything to hang your hat on. It's all, well, the defense is great. Defense is great. Okay. You're hired for more than that, man. You came here with a bad offense. Your offense remains terrible.
Well, it's getting worse.
It's actually getting worse. Somehow we're getting worse. We're actually worse than Gase right now. It's remarkable.
We're adding players, but getting worse.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the Jets, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm hoping that we can kind of reach a point where, I mean, we're kind of, where it's not just completely ruining the weekend and stuff like that, and we can kind of laugh about it and just kind of focus on 2024 now that we're officially eliminated. But we'll see how it plays out. But that's it for me, unless you want to add anything more.
This is my last angry show. I promise. This is the last one. Now the holidays are here. Christmas, New Year's. This is it. I promise. Next week I'll be relaxed. We can talk about.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
That's it. We'll talk about like snowflakes and the holidays and all kinds of different things. About uniform colors, whatever you want.
That's another thing too. I am changing the uniforms. I know there's like weird rules and whatnot, like on when you can do it and stuff. But me and my brother were actually hanging a couple days ago, and we were going through and watching all the a lot of the highlights back with like Sanchez and stuff.
Yeah,
we got to get back to that classic look. I love it.
Yeah, I think they will though. Well, Jets are about making money. They're not gonna make money on ticket sales, so they gotta make money on uniforms now. So,
God. All right. Well, yeah. I think that's
Merry Christmas, man.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Who do we get this week? Washington. Another dysfunctional team. I mean, they're kind of like the anti-Jets. They have a high-flying offense with Eric Bieniemy, but their defense is like 31st, I think, in all of football, and they just have no answers anywhere. They fired Del Rio. But yeah, anyway, thanks so much for watching. Do you want to add any more or no?
Bieniemy's an interesting name though for a head coach, but he doesn't have like the proven background of being a head coach.
And you can also point to KC's offense kind of stalling a little bit.
100%.
Interesting stuff. Maybe we'll do a coaching preview episode next week, or
we have to.
The Jets keep losing.
Yeah, we're not doing any more. Yeah, we're not doing no more angry recaps. We're done with these.
Yeah, sounds good with me. All right, thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.